Hi everybody, my name is Morgan. I am the creative designer, content, branding, all that fun stuff behind the Fit the Faith podcast. And I'm coming to you today because I wanted to talk about branding when it comes to your podcast. So what you'll see in front of me is three beautiful people that have been a part of our actual podcast in-person workshop, and they have been so amazing to work with, and it's so lovely to see their faces, even if it's only on my computer screen. But I wanted to show you guys this because when we talk about branding, sometimes people can get a little confused, especially when it comes down to the actual branding and photography, when it comes down to what you should wear, how you should act, what it all looks like. And when you're getting your pictures taken, especially for a podcast cover, you want to make sure your clothes, your surroundings, everything about the picture itself is your brand. So you'll notice with Ashley, you'll see Ashley to the left. She is from Ashley Uncorked. That is her podcast. So of course, it's light, it's airy. She does want to talk about some deep things, but she also wants to have some fun, drink wine, have fun with her girlfriends type of podcast. So as you can see, we formulated and worked with her and made sure she wore like the colors when we talked to her about her podcast cover. These are the colors that she wanted to see incorporated into that. So you wear that as well. You don't want to wear a bright orange shirt if your brand colors are pink and purple. They just are not going to jive, and it will not look good on a podcast cover altogether. So Glendon in the middle, his smorgasbord of a podcast is amazing. Mortgageboard. It's a mouthful, but he wanted to incorporate this into his podcast and into the podcast cover so that when you saw the name of it, you would get it, that the smorgasbord that is on the table, it correlates into the name of his podcast. So we were able to come up with this on the fly, really quick photo shoot that incorporated that, and it turned out to be amazing. And the podcast cover, which you guys will see in a second, is awesome. Next is Jess Lynn Black of the Free Mama Collective. She is bright and she wants to talk about deep conversations and things that are going on in our world, but she also is a bright personality, bubbly. So we wanted to kind of incorporate the two, and this is what we came up with. Her brand colors are on point. Her shirt that she's wearing is on point, and you guys will see what I'm talking about in a second. So I will diminish these for you guys, and I want to show you when I mention a podcast cover, this is what I'm talking about. These are podcast covers that we have created, and you will see the ones I'm talking about that I just showed you. I'll show you Ashley's in a second. This is the Some Mortgageboard. I knew it. I was just a tad bit off. So in his, like I said, the picture, everything correlated perfectly. The colors down to his shirt, everything was just done just right. And the countertop, I mean, it was all perfectly formulated for this podcast cover. You'll see with Jess, the same way. Her colors, like I said, the sweater was on point, and when she came to the podcast workshop, she was like, these colors right here are what I want to jive with. And I'm like, those are beautiful together. Let's do it. And so we were able to, and you will notice that we took that picture before and we kind of cut out the bottom of the chair a little bit because it had that orangey leather brown look. So we just kind of diminished that a little bit on the bottom, and we were able to make sure that her colors from her sweater popped out and correlated with the colors that are actually on her podcast cover. So let me show you some more podcast covers because I want to show you guys how I do that on Canva. You can see Canva right here. I love Canva. It is such an amazing tool for people who are just beginning with their content creation. And so I'll show you guys in a minute what I mean by that. So these are the latest three beautiful ladies of our last podcast workshop. And I want to talk about Ashley first. So Remember in that picture I told you she wanted to have the red and the blues, so her shirt matched perfectly to the colors that she wanted. And it's so funny because people walk in and sometimes they're like, I don't know, I want to do this and I want to do that, I want to do this color, I want to do that color. I'm like, you do know that you're wearing exactly what those colors are. It like usually always comes together and is a perfect combination. So Ashley, again, we use the picture of her holding the glass of wine and airy, and the colors just flowed so well with the colors that we chose for her brand. And this is her podcast cover. It turned out beautifully. This is Yasmina. Again, these are her brand colors. She came in wearing the brand colors and they just look amazing. And let's see. Alicia over here with Love Over Loss. As you can notice, we did not use one of her pictures from the brand perspective, the brand photo shoot that we did, because she loved this picture so much. And so we were able to incorporate that beachy feel into her logo, into her podcast cover. And this is the one that she fell in love with. I always create several different ones for each client, but this is the one she fell in love with. She loves that picture, so we went ahead and used it. Turned out amazing. All right. Now, let's talk about actually creating your podcast cover. So I always use Canva, and I will create a design to your top right over here. If it lets me do it. Custom dimensions. I always do 14 by 14. This plays well when you are uploading it into Apple for Apple Podcast. Now, when you're creating, you're going to want to grab a picture. So let's play around with, Alicia's other picture. Okay, so here's another one of Alicia's pictures for her podcast in the photo shoot that we did for her. So I kind of will go off the feel, the color brand. I mean, just what I feel when I talk to the client, and that's what I love about being in with these people is I can feel them and I can get a jive on how they work and what they like and what they love. And so this, and then I'll just work. You can add so many different things. Canva offers different elements, like if you want to add, a color block and right here, you can position it and it can be behind her. You can make the backdrop, any color that you want to, where it kind of, matches her shirt. And then I do tell people when it comes to your podcast covers, you want them simple. You don't want them outrageous. You don't want them with so much information, because if you notice when you're looking at podcasts on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, the boxes aren't that big when you're looking at them on your phone and even on your computer. So you don't want to inundate them with so much, wording or the logo. It's just keep it simple. And we found that keeping it simple, it is more, less is more. So this is how I normally will get started on creating a podcast cover in Canva. And like I said, you can play around with so many different things. You can change the background. I mean, Canva is endless opportunities and endless different designs if you want to add designs. And you can also do templates. So if you want to search a template, I usually create from scratch, but you can create. See, there's templates right here for podcasts. So if you wanted to add this one and just change out the picture, or, if you don't want a picture, I mean, there's just so many, like right here, the Instaplot, there's so many different templates that you can use, and you don't even have to worry about creating anything on your own. And I mean, they give you hundreds. I mean, I'm just continuing to scroll. You get hundreds of different options that you can use for a podcast cover. That's what Canva is amazing, and you're able to do so much on it. So now, once we've talked about the branded photography, what a podcast cover looks like, and how you can create that on Canva, I now want to talk to you guys about creating a media kit. Now, a media kit is so useful when you are wanting to present yourself to the world, present yourself to people that you want to be on podcasts with, or if you want people to be on your show. It tells them a little bit about you. It tells them about your podcast. It tells them what they can expect and who the listeners are of that podcast. It just gives the person that you are pitching to, or somebody who's pitching to you, it gives them just a little bit of information on who you are without having to go fully in depth. So I'm going to show you Tamara's real quick. So here's Tamara's podcast. Let's stretch it out a little bit. This is her media kit. And you'll see that, and I'll pull up Glendon's too. He's one that I wanted to use. We'll pull them side by side so you guys can see them. So here is Glendon's, and I will show you the difference between the two. So obviously Tamara's has changed a little bit because if you don't know, we're in season 3, and so that the colors can change. Everything can change when you're rebranding different things. So what you'll see over here with Tamara's is this podcast is a place for people who want to own their joy, prioritize their health, discover their wealth, exude wholeness. This tells the person what they're going to get, why they should listen to the podcast. Has the topics, she's going to cover with each guest, the takeaways, what they can walk away with when they listen to her podcast. Also, you can put your stats on there as well to let people know the number of, Facebook likes, your Instagram followers, what your ranking is in the podcast world. And you can have a cover photo as well if you would like, and then it goes down into the media kit. Simple, and I'm going to show you on Canva how you can create that as well. And then on Glendon's over here, the Some Mortgage Board podcast, you'll notice that he doesn't have his stats. You don't need stats technically if your stats aren't high. So you don't want to put your Instagram followers if you have 100. You don't want to put your Facebook likes if you have 50. So it just only if your numbers reflect of what your podcast shows and what your social media shows, then I would put them into your media kit. So over here, we don't have that information on Glendon's just because this is new for him, a new territory. So he doesn't have a Fit and Faith podcast Instagram. He doesn't have, not Fit and Faith podcast, a Mortgage Board podcast Instagram or Facebook. So we don't need to really put any of that information on there. But you'll see what this Mortgage Board podcast is about, a little bio that lets you know a little bit about Glendon and their expectations, as well as you can put a website, how you can find them on Instagram, as well as Facebook. So I'm going to show you how you can create that on Canva. So let's go back to the home page, and up here in the search, you're going to want to type in Media Kit. This is why Canva is amazing, people. So you can literally choose from any template, and they add to this stuff all the time. There's definitely more here than last time. So you can add and figure out, and most of them have different pages. So let's click on this one just because the name is Morgan. And so look, different templates. So here is your cover photo, one cover page, and then here is where you will put all of your information. You can enter in and keep it the exact same template, or you can just move things around. Canva will give you a template, but it literally gives you the chance and the opportunity to move every single thing on the page so you can put them exactly where you want to put them. So that's all for this video, friends. I hope you learned on how important branding it comes with your podcast. When it comes to actually taking pictures with the photography and your headshots, how important that is for your podcast cover, how to create a podcast cover on Canva, how to be simple because less is more, and also how to create your media kit and the importance of not having numbers. If you don't have high numbers on follows and likes, there's no need to put them on there. You don't have to. That's totally up to you. Even if you have high numbers, you don't have to put them on there as well. That's a preference that you guys can choose on your own. But I hope I showed you enough information on here on how to create a podcast cover that reflects the brand of your podcast. And consistency across the board. You want all your colors to flow, your typography, your text, everything to stay the same across the platform, because consistency is key and people love to see a flow and things that just flow together. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was informative enough. Talk to you soon.